Alright guys, so we have a 2007 PT Cruiser. This car does not get driven a whole lot. It stays parked quite a bit. They have to jump start it quite often. They said whenever they do drive it, they jump it to get it started, and then they'll drive it a little bit, and then they'll park it again. This thing's got all kinds of issues. So the complaint from the owner are the turn signals do not work and the wipers don't work. That's his only complaint. And sure enough, when you get in the car, you have absolutely zero turn signals. And there are no wipers. Nor the rear wiper works either. Playing around with it, I've noticed that the headlights are not working. Now, you do have the daytime running lights that are on. Key is on right now. You got your daytime running lights. At least I'm assuming those are the daytime running lights. You got tail lights that are on right now, and I don't think they should be on. Even with the daytime running lights on, I don't think normally your tail lights are on. So the high beams don't work. When you do try to turn the headlights on, you don't get any additional headlights out front. High beams don't work, low beams don't work. You just have what to me looks like the daytime running lights. The horn does work. The cruise control appears to work. So if I hit the cruise control button, you do get the cruise control up on the dash to illuminate. So I would assume the cruise control is working. The hazard lights do work. At least they work in here. Let's see what's going on out here. Yeah. So hazard lights are working out here. And as you can see, their little switch assembly there's all busted in. Let me see, the power windows work. The door locks work. The AC did work. I had the car running when I pulled it up here, and the AC was on and it was working. The radio works. So this car does not have a sunroof. The dome lights work. So just to recap, basically no headlights, no turn signals, no wipers. How about brake lights? Let's check the brake lights. Let me get my brake light or my brake pedal depressor. Okay, so right now, all we're going to have is just kind of a dimly lit tail lights. Step on the brake. And we do have a brighter lights back here, so we do have brake lights. I don't see a third light. I guess the third light doesn't work. And then we should be back to the dimly lit tail lights. So let's hook the scan tool up, and we'll just use the D8 here. Try to keep the glare to a minimum. Sometimes it's difficult, guys. Okay. See what we can learn about this thing. Now this car's got a tip-em, which the tip-em is what controls all this stuff. You've got switch inputs that send a computer signal through the LAN bus telling the TIPM what it needs to do. And the TIPM is a known, we'll just do an auto scan. We'll see what codes this thing has. I'm not going to start the engine. The TIPM is a known issue on Chrysler and Jeep products. It causes all kinds of issues, but you know, you kind of want to know whether you're going to need to replace the TIPM or if there's just something that's causing the TIPM to act goofy. I have a hard, well, that's scanning. I have a hard time believing that this multifunction switch would both be bad. Like I said, this is an intermittent problem. They say that every now and then it works. I did some work to this a couple months back, and they asked me to look at this, but everything was working. So, you know, I didn't really go too deep into it because I thought, well, they appear to be working, so I don't know what they were talking about. But they're right. It's definitely does not work, at least all the time. So the only code that looks like we've got, instrument cluster cabin. Let's see what that is. Lost communication with multifunction switch. A U1149. I might have to look that up. Instrument cluster. Okay. So, next thing I want to do, we'll go over here to Central Gateway. I think is where we want to be. Actuation test. I want to know if the TIPM will control any of this stuff. So, let's see. Left front turn lamp. Scan tool says it's on, but are we going to be able to tell? But okay, well, it is brighter. So yes, it did. So let me turn it off. Turn it on. Okay, so the TIPM is able to control. Let's just check the back here. That didn't seem to make a difference back here. Oh shoot, hold on. Getting clumsy here. Okay, so what else can we do here? Oh, let's do the wipers. Will the TIPM control the wipers? Front wiper low. Okay. Just for giggles. There's high. So we can control the stuff. The TIPM is able to control. So what we're doing is we're sending a command, I'm pretty sure, to the TIPM from the scan tool, and the TIPM is activating the stuff. So either we've got bad switches, wiring problems, or a bad TIPM. Or a TIPM that's latched up in a funky way. So I think before I really get into this, here, hold on a minute. I do have the wipers on. Don't I? Yeah. Let me just turn the steering wheel. See if anything makes it start working. Still nothing. So this is what I want to do. Huh. There we go. pop the hood. I'm gonna do a battery check, and then I'm gonna literally okay, no prop rod. Doesn't look like. Hold on, let me get the hood propped open or something. Okay, so I've got the top of the air filter box off just so I can get access to the battery. Obviously the battery's been kind of rigged up here. Got a big bundle of grounds going over here. Here's the tip-em right here. And it's not latched down, which is not good because you get water splashed up into it, and then you get all kinds of issues like what we're having. But what I want to do, since I know that these tip-ems can get latched up into a funky mode and cause all kinds of issues, I'm just going to disconnect the battery, reconnect the battery, and we're just going to see if that makes any difference at all before I start digging into deeper stuff. All right, just let it sit just for a minute, just to make sure everything's discharged. We'll check all these fuses here in a second, but since it's intermittent, a fuse isn't going to be intermittent, so I really don't think it's going to be a fuse issue. Okay, let's go ahead and hook this thing back up. Well, we got wipers, and we got a turn signal. We got rear wiper. Let's see how the lights are working. I'll be down. Okay. So right now the key is on. We do not have daytime running lights, which that's the way I figured it should have worked. Just because the key's on, your daytime running light shouldn't be on. Remember, we also had tail lights that was on. We do not anymore. So now if we turn the headlights on, we should have regular low beam headlights, which we do. Now we should have tail lights, which we do, and we should have high beams, and we do. So and there you have it. So in fact, we got high beam indication up on the dash too, up on the cluster. The dimming didn't work either. I don't know if you can tell. It's dim, bright, dim, bright. Signals obviously are working now. What else wasn't working? Of course, we already verified the wipers work. Cruise control appeared to work earlier. I think that was it. So headlights, wipers, turn signals, they're all working now from a simple disconnecting the battery and reconnecting it. So the thing to do now, in my opinion, is to do a battery check. Now this is a relatively new battery, 5 of 21, but I'm going to do a battery check because, like I said, they let this thing sit so long the battery discharges and they end up having to jump it just to start it. And I think when they jump start it, that's what ends up latching up the TIPM and causes the TIPM to, there's a lot of logic. There's IC chips, a lot of logic in these TIPMs. And they get latched up into funky modes that you can't get them unlatched unless you remove power and reconnect power. So what I want to do is a battery test. Make sure that the battery, I'll show you how we're going to do that. This little Topton battery checker, man, I'm really starting to love it. So we're going to just hit OK. We're going to hit battery test. It is a regular flooded battery. Cold cranking amps. Cold cranking amps 540. And it's now testing the battery. Okay, the battery is 100% healthy. It's 53% charged. 4.25 milliohm of resistance, which is good. So let's go ahead. We'll do a cranking test. It says start engine. Yeah, we should be good to start. I'm just going to leave it running because we're going to do an alternator test. Okay, it only dropped to 11.11. That's good. And it even tells you that it's good. Now we're going to do a charging test. .14 millivolt ripple. That's within spec. Increase RPM to 2500. I don't know if it's 2500, but that's good enough. All it does is it does kind of a low RPM and high RPM charging. It makes sure that the charge comes up a little bit whenever you rev it up. Charging is normal. Okay, so everything's good. So if they drove this, this is my thinking. If they would just drive this pretty much every day, they would probably be okay. In fact, let's just start it a couple times and make sure that everything's going to continue to work. I'll just leave the turn signal going. I'm going to put my foot on the brake to turn the brake lights on. That'll add a little bit of load to the battery. Start it. Those wipers are still working. And you can see from all the leaves out there on the cow that it just sits, you know, for who knows how long at a time. He's wanting to get it inspected. I mean, if he would drive it up to the inspection station, like right now, today, he could get it inspected and everything would work. You can see the high beams are now working. We'll do one more start. Ooh. Everything's still working. If they just leave the if they drive it enough to keep the battery charged, I think it'd probably fix the entire problem. So I'm pretty much done with this. Yeah, I thought we was going to really get into a diagnostic routine. Oh, and earlier, so he brought this over last night, and I ran out real quick and hooked the scan tool to it. And when I was going through the scan tool, I was looking at the live data, and none of the switches would show any activity. Whenever you look at the live data and whenever you turned the headlights on, it would show the headlight switch was still off. Wiper switch was always off, even though they were on. Turn signals, it didn't show, but the scan tool would activate all that stuff, just like I showed just a minute ago. It's still, you know, activated all that stuff this morning. So be aware of this. If you're working with something like this, especially a Chrysler, I don't know how many of these Chryslers I've worked on, and Jeeps, that if something funky is going on like this, before you dive into it and spend who knows how much time trying to troubleshoot stuff, just disconnect the battery, reconnect it. If everything is now working, your switches are probably fine, everything's probably fine, and it's just the fact that either you've got a weak battery, an alternator that's dirty, that's giving a bad signal, you know, bad diode possibly in the alternator, that causes a bunch of issues. Just a weak battery causes all kinds of issues with a lot of these cars nowadays. Anyway, I'm done talking. I'm done with this car. I think they just need to drive it more often. If they drove this every day and this popped up and was always an issue, then it may be worth digging into. But knowing the problematic tip-ems on these Chryslers, I just don't think there's any reason to go any further at this point until they at least and he is going to start driving this. He's got a truck. Since this does not have an inspection sticker, he's been driving his truck. He wants to get this inspected so he can drive this, because he needs some work done to his truck. And I'd be curious to see if he drove this pretty much every day or every other day or whatever, if this problem would still show itself. I'd be willing to bet it wouldn't. Anyway, you guys take care.